Futurism is a school of art from the turn of the century founded by Filippo Marinetti in 1909. Futurists believe that all art should be divorced from its history, each piece being an entirely new creation. Futurists apply these beliefs to art, sculpture, fashion, architecture, and even music. In 1930, Marinetti released La Cucina Futurista, the Futurist Cookbook, believing that Futurist principles could improve the lives of everyday Italians by changing how they eat. There are 3 simple rules to Futurist cuisine. Rule 1. Because they believed that food should be for all senses, cutlery is to be abolished. By eating with your hands, you get a full experience of the food on your plate. Rule 2. Marinetti believed that pasta made the Italians sluggish and fat. Preparing for future wars, Marinetti thought it should be banned from all Italian tables. And Rule 3. Much like their art, the Futurists believed in rejecting all previous influences. Every meal should be a new experience of textures, flavors, sounds, and sights. But what would these rules look like at an actual dinner? I decided to make a Futurist dinner for some friends and find out. I put together a menu based on writings from various Futurist manifestos and cookbooks, including the Tactile Vegetable Garden, Intuitive Antipasto, Spring Paradox, and for dessert, Italian breasts on the beach. The Tactile Vegetable Garden is an assortment of greens served directly on the table. Undressed and raw, diners are invited to eat it without their hands, chewing away for tasty morsels. As they raise their heads to chew, they are sprayed in the face with perfume. Futurists believe that a good chef should cater to every one of the diner's senses, making sure that they are never bored. Of course, Futurist music was played throughout the entire meal. My guests were surprised at how much they enjoyed the combination of leafy greens and rosewater sprayed in their face. Maybe the Futurists were onto something. The intuitive antipasto is a little less intuitive than its name implies. Oranges are hollowed out and filled instead with meats, olives, cheeses, pickled vegetables, candies, and little scraps of paper. I'll get back to the paper later. Diners hold the orange above their head and take out items one by one. This eliminates the diner's choice in what parts of the antipasto to eat. This again shows the Futurist belief that the artist should be in complete control of his work. This was my guest's favorite dish, and they're actually a little bit like fortune cookies, because the slips of paper inside contain Futurist sayings.
Art can be nothing but violence, cruelty, and injustice.
War is the world's only form of hygiene.
Inspiration and genius walk in step with the progress of the machine, of aircraft, of industry, of trade, of the sciences, of electricity.
People think, dress, and act in accordance with what they drink and eat.
On Futurist Cuisine, doctors will be out of work. Spring Paradox is a cylinder of plain ice cream with a banana jutting out of it, surrounded by eggs whose yolks have been removed and replaced with jam. It was one of the most challenging dishes for my guests, although they did enjoy eating ice cream with their hands. Again, this was an example of Futurists favoring form over taste. They liked the look of the jam in the eggs and the feel of the ice cream in your fingers. Italian breasts on the beach are 2 mounds of almond paste, topped with 2 strawberries, and sprinkled with fresh ground black pepper. This is the only dish I could find that was created by a female Futurist, Marisa Mori. They're meant to remind diners of the topless sunbathers on Italy's southern beaches. Sculpture is an important part of Futurist cuisine. The meal that inspired Marinetti to write his food manifesto was served to a friend whose fiancée had just left him. Marinetti created a life-size replica of the woman out of meringue and deli meat and served it to his sad friend. Though gruesome, this scene did share some similarities with my light-hearted dinner. Guests at both dinners said that the meal had an air of ritual to it, while simultaneously being an entirely novel experience. But perhaps not entirely novel. Every dish had some reference to a previous part of Italian cuisine. The Tactile Vegetable Garden was a salad. Though served in an orange, the antipasto was either no different than you'd get in an Italian market, or candy off the shelf. Even though the food itself was not entirely new, the experience was. All of my guests said the Futurist cuisine was wholly unlike anything they've ever eaten before. Ultimately, Marinetti was successful. In his original Futurist manifesto, he said, "Let us leave wisdom behind, and cast ourselves like fruit into the immense twisting mouth of the wind. Let us become food for the unknown." And I can't think of a better way to sum up this Futurist meal. By eating unknown foods, we all became food for the unknown.
Lankatargal, pe, oka, 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 oka. Lankatargal, pi, zuka, 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 zuka.